So here's video number 2 during this time where a lot of people are at home. First one was on what to do, the top 3 things for the total knee replacement. This one is for total hip replacement.
See you guys.
So most of the time, when you have one hip replacement, that's normal. I did hear, and I've seen a few people that have both same time. It'd be very rare, but if you're one of them, this will still apply to you. So I do have to show this because this is just a common thing, whether it's a low back surgery, hip, knee, anything from the back down. I am going to show sit to stand because you have to sit to stand. Now, if someone's had the anterior or front approach, this is perfectly fine to do the sit to stand, where your intention is push through the ground, have a good stable base, glue your feet to the floor, so to speak, meaning don't lift up the toes or heels, just really push the ground down and sit to stand. If you even want to be a little more cautious with that type of procedure, even though you don't have to be, you can do it more with an upright trunk. Otherwise, it's okay to hinge at the hip and perform the procedure. So if you've had the other one, sit to stands are still okay to do. You just might do a little more upright trunk motion. Now, once you're up, always have something nearby, possibly have a chair or two close as well, so you always have something to lean back against or sit down. As you do the standing, you're going to do real simple, some hip bumps or hip weight shifts. Not much. If this is my surgical side, I may do much more motion here and just a little bit here. One of the things that is lacking after a surgery, hip replacement, is when someone puts weight on that leg and they go to walk, they don't do a natural shift, which we all should have. They kind of peg leg it and then get to the other leg. That shifts, and they almost like do a monster walk or a stiff legged. So as you do this little simple side to side shift, you could play around with this within reason, where you could do a little bit wider or a little bit more narrow. I'm not saying go to extreme, like where you cross your legs or do anything that breaks any rules, but just a simple weight shift is something that you could do after the sit to stand. I didn't say this at the beginning, but I'll give the top 3 things. So 1 would be a sit to stand. 2 would be a simple weight shift. 3, and I'm going to choose, this has a couple components to it, where you would do a mini knee step and knee bend. Some people would call it a lunge. Most people, when we say lunge, they think they have to go all the way down to the ground, and that's not the case. So you would just do a 12 o'clock. In this case, I'm going forward. Either alternate 5 on each leg or do all 5 on one leg. I'll just do a couple here and then switch. A little variation, which is still safe to do, is a slight angled or diagonal lunge. All this is doing is nothing much more than what you're doing anyway when you walk, whether you walk with a walker or a cane or a crutch or anything, is you're just starting to loosen up the hips, develop that core a little bit, wake up some of the hip muscles, and what's more important, or just as important, is get the proprioception, which is a fancy way of saying 3-dimensional balance, just where your body is moving in space and time. And then the third one would just be a slight side to side weight shift. Believe it or not, you'll probably be a little bit better going to the same side, the surgical side, than you are going to the stronger side. The reason is, when you go to the stronger side, this has to open up, and it's only going to open up so much at first. Then when you shift back, you have to put all the weight back there. So sometimes that's what it kind of looks like at first. So sit to stand with its modifications based on the type of hip replacement you had. Side to side weight shifts, number 2. And number 3, that has 3 components: forward each leg, a slight diagonal, mini step and bend, and then a side to side. A lot of them are feet on the ground because that compresses the hip joint into the pelvis. It's very safe. It's way safer than even some of the exercises that are shown right away anyway, and they have you do those. So this, no problem when it's weight shifted and it's compressed and you're just going through Nice, easy motion. If you have any questions, call us 565-6678. YouTube, we have tons of videos on this and much, much more. So it'll give you plenty of stuff to do if you are stranded or stuck in your home or wherever you may find yourself and you can't get to physical therapy or just anywhere nowadays.